Have you ever sat down to study for an important exam, but 5 minutes later you pick up your phone to check up a notification? Subtly, 15 minutes later you open Snapchat, then 2 hours later you're on TikTok watching cat videos, laughing your ass off. And when you finally snap 3 hours later, you realize you've accomplished absolutely nothing. You opened your laptop to write an essay and somehow ended up watching random videos about things you don't even care about. If this sounds familiar, I need you to know something. You're not lazy. You're not stupid. You're just living in the most distracted era in human history. And today, I'm going to share the one technique that completely changed my life. But before we get into it, tell me in the comments right now, what's your biggest distraction? Is it your phone? Social media? Or just your own wandering mind? Drop a comment because I genuinely want to know. Now let me tell you a story. 3 years ago, I was a complete mess. My name is Steve, and I was 16 years old, sitting in my bedroom staring at my report card with tears running down my face. I had just gotten a C- in AP Calculus, a B- in Chemistry, and barely scraped by in English. And here's the thing. I wasn't aiming for some local community college. I had this massive dream. I wanted to get into MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the most competitive universities on the planet, where only the best of the best get accepted. But my grades? They weren't even close. MIT's average admitted student has nearly a perfect GPA. I was struggling to maintain a 3.3, and it wasn't because I didn't understand the material. When I actually paid attention in class, everything made sense. The problem was that I couldn't pay attention, not for more than 5 minutes at a time. I'd sit down at my desk with the best intentions. I'd open my textbook, read 3 paragraphs, and then my phone would buzz. Just one quick glance, I'd tell myself. 20 minutes later, I'm deep in a TikTok spiral, watching videos I won't even remember the next day. I'd start solving math problems, and my mind would drift to what happened at lunch, or what I was going to wear tomorrow, or some argument I had with a friend 3 weeks ago. My parents were beyond frustrated. Steve, you have so much potential. Why can't you just focus? My teacher said the same thing in different words during parent-teacher conferences. He's bright, but he lacks discipline. Even my best friend made jokes about it. Steve, you want to go to MIT, but you can't even finish your homework without checking Facebook every 2 minutes. How's that going to work? They laughed when they said it, but every word hit me like a knife. Because they were right. I was sabotaging myself. Day after day, I watched my dreams slip further away, and I had no idea how to stop it. The worst part wasn't the bad grades or the disappointed looks from my parents. The worst part was the shame. That crushing feeling every night when I'd go to bed knowing I'd wasted another entire day. Another day where I had all the time in the world to study, but I accomplished nothing meaningful because I couldn't control my own attention. Then came the breaking point. It was a Thursday night in October. I had a massive physics exam the next morning, worth 30% of my grade. I needed at least a B+ to keep my average from completely tanking. I sat down at 7 p.m., told myself I'd study until midnight, really nail this material. By 11:30, I looked down at my notes and realized I'd barely covered 2 pages. 5 hours. Almost nothing to show for it. I was furious. Not at my phone, not at social media, but at myself. How could I be so weak, so undisciplined? I felt completely hopeless. And in that moment of desperation, I did something I rarely did. I actually searched for help. Not the generic, how to study better advice I'd seen 1,000 times. I went deeper. I started reading research papers about attention, about focus, about why our brains get distracted. That's when I found it. Buried in a blog post about Japanese philosophy and productivity, I discovered a concept called ICHIO ICHIE. In Japanese Zen Buddhism, it means one time, one meeting, or more practically, doing one thing at a time with your complete, undivided attention. The article explained that this wasn't just some productivity hack, it was a fundamental way of living. When you eat, you just eat. You don't watch videos or scroll through your phone. When you study, you just study. You don't think about the past or worry about the future. You become completely present in the single task in front of you. I kept reading. The article linked to actual neuroscience research from UCLA showing that multitasking literally damages your brain's ability to focus. Every time you switch tasks, even for just a few seconds to check a notification, your brain needs up to 23 minutes to fully regain deep focus. 23 minutes. I thought about how many times I interrupted myself every hour. No wonder I couldn't learn anything. But here's what really caught my attention. The research showed that focused attention practice literally rewires your brain. It increases the density of gray matter in your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for concentration, planning, and impulse control. In other words, focus isn't some magical talent you're born with. It's a skill you can train, just like a muscle. I stayed up until 3 in the morning reading everything I could find. Studies on mindfulness, research on flow states, articles about how Zen monks develop extraordinary concentration. And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The next day, after bombing that physics exam like I knew I would, I decided to try something radical. I came home, went straight to my room, and did something I'd never done before. I turned off my phone, not silent mode, completely off. Then I put it in my desk drawer, closed the drawer, and walked away. I sat down at my desk with just my chemistry textbook and a notebook. I closed every tab on my laptop except one, a simple timer app. I set it for 25 minutes. Then I took 3 deep breaths and I started studying. Just studying. Nothing else. The first few minutes were torture. My brain was screaming at me. What if someone texted you? What if you're missing something important? This is so boring. Just check your phone real quick. But I remembered what I'd read about ICHIO ICHIE. Don't fight the distraction. Notice it. Acknowledge it. My mind wants to wander. And then gently, without judgment, bring your focus back. I did this probably 20 times in those first 25 minutes, but then something started to shift. In the second 25-minute block, the distractions came less frequently. My mind started to settle. And in the third block, something incredible happened. I entered a state I'd never experienced before. Complete absorption. I wasn't Steve studying chemistry anymore. I was just the act of learning, happening. No separation between me and the material. When the timer went off after 90 minutes, I looked at what I'd accomplished and I couldn't believe it. 3 full chapters, thoroughly understood, detailed notes, practice problems completed. I had done more real learning in 90 minutes than I normally did in an entire week of distracted studying. And weirdly, I wasn't exhausted. I actually felt energized. Alive. Like I'd just woken up from a long sleep. Chapter 4. The Transformation. From that day forward, I committed completely. Every single day after school, I followed the same ritual. Phone off, drawer closed, environment prepared. One task, total focus, 25-minute intervals with short breaks. But I didn't stop there. I applied ICHIO ICHIE to my entire life. When I ate meals, I put away my phone and actually tasted my food. When I walked to school, instead of scrolling through Instagram, I noticed the sky, the trees, the way the light hit the buildings. When my friends talked to me, I practiced being fully present, really listening, not just waiting for my turn to speak or thinking about something else. The changes started slowly, then all at once. My grades began to climb. That 3.3 GPA became a 3.6 by the end of junior year. My test scores improved dramatically. My SAT went from a 1310 to a 1520. But more than the numbers, something deeper changed. I started to feel like I was actually living my life instead of just drifting through it on autopilot. My teachers noticed. I don't know what happened, but keep doing whatever you're doing. My parents were amazed. It's like you've become a completely different person. And my friends stopped making jokes because there was nothing to joke about anymore. I was consistently the most prepared, most focused person in every class. Senior year, I applied to MIT. My guidance counselor told me to be realistic, to have backup plans. My friends thought I was being overly optimistic, but I'd learned something crucial through practicing ICHIO ICHIE. You can't control outcomes. You can only control your attention, your effort, your presence. So I gave that application everything I had. Every essay written with complete focus. Every supplemental question answered with total care. every recommendation letter earned through consistent, present engagement with my teachers. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too good to be true, some kind of motivational fluff. So let me give you the actual science. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice, which is essentially what ICHIO ICHIE teaches, increases gray matter concentration in brain regions involved in learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Stanford University studies showed that people who practice focused attention have up to a 40% reduction in activity in the default mode network, which is the part of your brain that wanders, that gets distracted, that pulls you away from the present moment. And here's the crucial part. Every single time you notice your mind has wandered and you bring it back to your task, you're literally strengthening the neural pathways responsible for attention control. You're building a stronger brain. This isn't mysticism. This isn't pseudoscience. This is documented, peer-reviewed research showing that attention is trainable. But here's what's even more important, and what nobody talks about. This isn't just about getting better grades or being more productive. This is about actually living your life. Think about how many moments you've missed because your mind was somewhere else. How many conversations where you weren't really there. How many meals you don't even remember eating because you were staring at a screen. ICHIO ICHIE teaches you to be present, and when you're truly present, everything becomes richer. Food tastes better, conversations go deeper, experiences become more vivid. You stop sleepwalking through your own life. What happened next? 6 months after I submitted my application, I got the email. I was sitting in my room, doing homework, practicing my focus ritual like I did every day. And there it was in my inbox. Congratulations, you have been admitted to MIT. I read it 3 times before the words actually registered. Then I screamed. I screamed so loud my parents came running up the stairs thinking something was wrong. I showed them the email with shaking hands. My mom burst into tears. My dad just hugged me without saying anything. And me? I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for getting in, but for learning something far more valuable than any college acceptance. I learned that your attention is your most valuable resource. Not your time, not your intelligence, your attention. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your life goes. The truth I need to tell you. Here's what I need you to understand. That girl I just told you about, that was me. This isn't some motivational story I found online. This is my real life. I'm Steve. I'm 24 years old, and I graduated last year from MIT with a degree in computer science. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that ICHIO ICHIE is the only reason I'm here. But more importantly, it's the reason I actually enjoy being here. Because I'm not just going through the motions. I'm present for every lecture, every problem set, every conversation. I'm living my life instead of letting it pass by while I'm distracted. Every single day through these videos, I share what I've learned on this journey. Because I believe everyone deserves to know that focus isn't a talent, it's a skill. Presence isn't a gift, it's a practice. And if a distracted 16-year-old with mediocre grades and big dreams could transform her entire life by learning to pay attention, so can you. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button right now, because I'm going to keep sharing these lessons, one video at a time, one insight at a time, teaching you the same principles that changed everything for me. Remember, one thing at a time, full attention. That's how you change your life. Be present, walk with purpose. I'll see you in the next video.